Soundtrack of Life, Episode 3. Namaste, Internet. Are you ready to rock and roll? Welcome to the third episode of Soundtrack of Life with me, the Vipin Mishra project. This episode continues to talk about the topic, how do you shape a career in music? In the previous episode, I highlighted the very first and basic investment of your time in really listening to the music that you love and the kind that you would hope to compose and produce someday. If you're a singer, you do the same. If you're a guitar player, you do the same. Let's move on to the second and again basic and even more obvious step. Learn how to play an instrument and learn at least the basics of music theory. Yes, even if you plan on only being a singer, and especially if you're producing electronic music. Now, why do I even say this? Because I've met enough singers who don't play any instruments, and more than enough electronic music producers who don't either. They rely on a hit and try method and pull loops and samples together to make something cohesive. Very rarely will that work out. But if you want to be a prolific composer, music producer, musician, consistency in producing great music is key. So you can't be relying on a hit and try method. There could be the one odd vocalist or DJ who hustled their way to a good start, but in the long run, to be honest, it can get draining to take days and weeks trying to produce a rough representation of the sound that you're hearing in your head because you don't know what you're doing, what chords and scales you're working with. Further, as a commercial music producer or film composer or even a session musician, you need to deliver great music and performances on schedule. So really, there is no scope for shooting in the dark till you hit the target by fluke. It is not going to work as a career option. Having said that, I'm aware that learning any instrument is a time consuming process that requires years and years of spending time with the instrument, consistent practice, and endless patience. But then I ask you, what's the hurry? You're doing this and you're hearing this podcast because you believe you want a career in music that is long term. Think of your instrument as your partner. The more time you guys spend together, the more you'll get to know each other, the more at ease you'll be with communicating to each other and communicating through each other. Communication through your instrument will become effortless at the end of this long relationship. I'll go on to say, like with other relationships, that you must have fun while you're at it. Play as many instruments as you can get your hands on. Sure, to start with, focus on any one instrument, but as you get proficient, play. Play with as many. Yes, strive for perfection, but while you are at it, be unafraid of sounding less than perfect. And this here, what I've just said, is really, really important. Why do I say that? It's because this is how you will find your voice and your personality in music, which, in my opinion, is the most challenging aspect for any recording artist or composer, to find his or her personality in music. You should deliberate a bit over this last part of the podcast about balancing, on one hand, the focused hard work and consistency that's required to get better in music and on an instrument, while on the other hand, taking time out to have fun with music and the instrument or your vocals, of being unafraid of making mistakes and maybe not sounding the best that you can. This is a good point for me to wrap up this episode. But before I go to quickly recap, for you to have a career in music, the things I've suggested so far are: number one, listen to music instead of just hearing it. spend time in breaking it apart, working out all the parts. Two, basic, but I've got to tell you, learn an instrument with the intent of reaching a level of proficiency in that instrument that you can communicate effortlessly through it. Three, have fun, be it while listening or breaking down the tunes, working out the parts, or the time that you spend with your instrument or singing. Don't just play instruments, play with them. What was that? This is too elementary for your stage? Well, you always start building with the foundation, don't you? But yes, I hear you. And let me dive deeper about how you can shape a career in music in the next episode. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do follow me here. I've just about started out, and it would be nice to have some listeners. It'll also be awesome to connect with you and hear from you on my Instagram or YouTube. My handle all across social media is Vipin Mishra Project. I'll be back, and when I am, you better be ready to rock and roll.